It's exactly like in Tangled when she finally leaves the tower. And she's like, I can't believe I did this. She goes, I can't believe I did this. It's like that. Like, woohoo, I finally did it. Oh my God.
Hashtag Disney adult.
Sorry. Welcome back to the Estranged Millennials podcast. I am your host, Alisha Flores, and I'm here with my husband,
Nic Flores.
We are back from our holiday break, I guess, extended.
Winter flings. But yeah, we did something new. We went to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I don't know why I said it so weird. Walt Disney World. It sounds weird when you say it out loud. We tried going. We were going to go. Right.
The last time we planned going, we were that was the closest. No, that's not true. The time before last time.
Yeah, we had this vacation planned, and we knew where we were going to stay, when we were going to go, and told my parents.
No, we originally invited them.
Oh yes, we originally invited them. We told them, invited them. They said no.
Yes.
No, we don't want to go. It's going to be too expensive. And then not even a couple days later, they were on board with going. After we,
I don't know if it was a couple days. It was like a couple weeks. We had already made it we had already come to the conclusion in our mind that we were just going by ourselves.
Yeah.
And it started booking like reservations.
Yeah, because at that point you can book when you want to eat, where you want to eat. What at that time parks needed reservations.
Hotel.
Everything you had to reserve ahead of time. We were planning with just us in mind, and then they hopped on board kind of just out of nowhere and hijacked the trip.
Well, anyway, details here or there. Lots of conflicts on where to stay, what to do, where to eat, when to fly out there. Finalizing details, and we thought, you know what? We'll extend our stay so we can still have some time. Just us.
Like, we'll arrive early.
We told them we were extending. And then they wanted to hop on board that, and then that's when everything just exploded.
Albeit to remind you, at the beginning they said no because it was going to be too expensive. So now it's too expensive, but they can make it.
Right. Then we had decided we weren't going anymore because we didn't want to deal with the spike again. And then we were shunned.
Yeah, they didn't like that we canceled.
Because... Granted, we didn't cancel like a few weeks or a month out. We were still months out from this vacation.
Yeah, months away.
And we were given the silent treatment. So that was cool. But anyway.
We went.
We finally did it.
We never thought it would happen. Well, not never thought it wouldn't happen ever. But it happened a lot sooner than we thought.
Yeah, for sure. It was good. It was nice to do things how we wanted to. And when we wanted to.
On our own terms.
Yep.
That's basically it. On our own terms.
Without the added stress.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to do something like that without your parents or a strange family member.
Well, yeah.
For us, it's our parents, but for you, it might be someone else. But
extended family. Who knows?
But yeah, just that relief of being able to do something for the first time without that added stress and pressure from somebody who you were previously
anticipating
not to.
Arguments and
just kind of
getting frustrated and
bracing the whole trip.
Yeah.
Like, when's it going to explode? When's it safe?
Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah.
Yeah. It's too good to be true.
Right.
Now, speaking of things we never thought would happen, becoming estranged is one thing we don't anticipate or look forward to since we're children. Well, maybe not all of us. Maybe some of you have.
I mean, I know there are some people that are like,
been waiting.
They're teenagers or whatever, and they're like, I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
But yeah, I think about watching Travel Channel as a kid, and now finally being able to go to Walt Disney World, and
right.
Dreaming of that day to walk in those gates or whatever. But estrangement definitely wasn't anything on my radar as a kid. Never thought it would happen. But yeah, and then finally started to have the idea around maybe I should become estranged from my parents. How do I cut them off? And then you go into that planning phase, much like a vacation. You're like, when should I do it? Can I do it? Can I afford to do this if you're still at home? Can I survive without them? You know, is this the right time? So yeah, when did you realize you needed to start kind of planning to make this change, to do this transition of changing that relationship status with your parents?
Well, I was definitely one of those people, at least in high school, from like my junior year, of just being like, I don't know if this relationship with my parents is something that's sustainable for the rest of my life with the treatment I'm being given and the lack of respect. So there were times where I'd think, like, what would my life look like without my parents in the picture? But I also, at the time, like, was not brave enough to do that. And also, as a teenager, still in high school, you're still a kid, so that's kind of like not feasible. Possible.
Yeah.
Unless under extreme situations.
You emancipate yourself.
Which I was...
process.
I was nowhere near in a position to be trying that move. And I didn't really want to at the time, because still, even considering that, I still had some hope, I guess. But I'm going on almost 10 years now, so it got into a pretty decent argument with my parents. And it was kind of leading up to this anyway for about a month or two, just because it was a combination of things, I guess. But I changed my major at school, and my mother did not like that.
Go Aztecs.
Okay. She did not like that. She was done going to the church we had been attending for a few years. But I had finally established community there, and I did not want to leave. And she wanted to go back to her roots of, like, Catholicism, which is like, okay, good for you, but that's not for me.
Ideological differences.
She never approved of my dating life, so dating choices. It ultimately came down to just noticing I didn't have a lot of say in my own life. I was viewed more of an extension of my parents than my own person. And it kind of just dawned on me one day of just like, wow, like, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm never going to be good enough. And yeah, I was pretty much given an ultimatum of, you can study what I say you're going to study in school. You're going to date who I say you can date. And you're going to go to church where I say you go to church. And if you don't like any of these things, then you don't need to be here anymore. So, with that, I hadn't said anything out loud in that moment, but it pretty much was like, yeah, I can't stay here anymore.
Yeah. Like, you just opened the door for me. So
you pretty much told me to get out of here. And my other parent, my dad, just kind of didn't try and help the situation. Very much an enabler when it came to the feuds that I would have with my mother. And he pretty much agreed with her and said, yeah, like, I'm with your mom on this one and you can just leave. I was like, okay, well. And then I just went to bed that night, like right after that. Nothing else was said. It was like, okay,
sure.
Well, I don't think I'm going to change my mind in the morning of where I stand on this situation. I needed to set that boundary. I didn't want it. I don't think at the time I expected it to be, a decade. I would have hoped to fix things sooner, but that's just not in the cards.
Right. Doesn't look likely.
No. It's pretty safe to say at this point it would take a absolute miracle for something to change. And
yeah. Talk about that moment where you went to bed and you're still pretty much set, but I can just imagine even just kind of reliving it still from my perspective, but almost 10 years later, just like how nerve-wracking that evening probably was. Like,
yeah,
it's just waiting. You know something's gonna happen.
right.
It's like, what?
Right. And
when is it gonna happen? Like, this is the longest night ever.
yeah. And I remember briefly talking to my mom the next day and just kind of just telling her, like, I don't think you value me as a human, and I would like for us to work on things. And she's very much anti-therapy, always has been, would make fun of me for going for it in high school. Very much like, I don't know why you need to pay a stranger to talk about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And she would say, you could always just talk to me. It's just like,
no chance.
No, because I talk about you in therapy. So
Yeah.
she, every time I'd get in the car after therapy, she would grill me. I'm like, what'd you talk about? I was like, that's not your business. Mm-hmm. And she would try to grill the therapist. So the therapist was like, nope, that's between me and your daughter. But I had brought that up again, essentially, of like, maybe we can work things out in therapy. And she pretty much just laughed in my face. So I was like, okay, well, and I'm definitely booking it.
Yeah.
Definitely not any effort in trying to fix things or find a different solution. But yeah, I left with literally a backpack of my things that I personally bought, because knowing how my parents, specifically my mother, is, I didn't want to be accused of stealing anything, of having the cops called on me falsely for things that were given to me by them.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I said, this is of my own free will. I want to work on things, but until then, this is where things need to just stand.
Yeah. Point of no return right there. Shut the door and left. I came across this article from Forbes by a psychologist named Mark Travers. 3 reasons why no contact families are on the rise. But yeah, this quote he pulled from a Reddit user. Just says Reddit user, so I don't know who it is. But
okay.
Says, going on 4 years estranged from my dad, stepmom, and 2 adult half-sisters. Abuse and childhood neglect were the reasons. I took years of therapy just to understand how absolutely horrific my childhood was. I don't regret it. And that's what they wrote. And so, yeah, I think about this term regret, and you and I could keep rehashing these quote like war stories about our estrangement, but I think that regret in this context can be complicated, very complicated of a feeling. Maybe it doesn't encapsulate everything, but when I decided to cut ties with my parents, I can say, yes, I hold regret, but not necessarily around being estranged from the life I lived prior. My estrangement story is clouded with stories of abuse, betrayal, and differences of ideological views. And to speak to each of those, I regret not speaking up about my sexual abuse earlier. Maybe life would have panned out differently if I had spoken up. But I know to give myself grace in that situation. Not to blame myself for that level of abuse and the amount of years it took away from my life. And no abuse survivor, sexual or any kind, needs to have that placed on them. We are lucky we had survived in the first place. 2, my abuser is my older brother, so yes, I feel betrayed that my parents still want to not hold him accountable And also just straight up betrayal from my brother as well. That's the big one.
Yeah.
But my regret here in this he stems from, again, number one. If I had spoken up the first time when abuse had started, maybe things could have been different. Maybe there could have been a course of action that could have been taken to not have it progress.
Right.
But again, like I can't put that
That's
on
a lot to expect from a kid, though.
On me
or
as
anyone,
a kid, or
for
anybody.
that matter.
Yeah.
But especially a kid.
And then third and lastly is ideological differences, right? Like, as I've gotten older, my parents have been more in their ways. We just don't align on politics. I don't see ever really coming eye to eye with both of my parents at the same time. But again, like, number two, we don't align on whether to keep my abuser accountable. I guess I regret not trying to keep things more level with my parents, more eye to eye, more empathetic with them in terms of like the ideological differences. But like, maybe I could have been the adult. But again,
in terms of ideological differences, yeah. But when it's number two, no, that's not your job.
But again, I'm the child. Like, I don't always have to be the adult. Why do I always have to be the adult? And I just feel like a lot of people maybe feel the same way in terms of estrangement with their parents. Like, why do I always have to be the adult? Why do I always have to be the one setting things aside? Why do I have to be the one? And so when that person, that Reddit user is like, I don't regret it. It's like, yes.
And no.
But a part of me wanting to be the perfect or the most optimal child is just like, it's still like that condition to try to be the one to fix it, try to be the one that is not causing any waves. But after estrangement, like, well, it's not my responsibility as an adult to feel regret for being abused or whatnot. But like,
right,
yeah,
regret's a tricky word. I don't know how I feel when it comes to my parents. I'm sad I don't have a relationship with my parents, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that goes for most people.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I would have liked, constantly. I mean, not like it's not on the forefront of my mind every day, but like there are moments or, like we talked about holidays and things like that, where it's like, I would be nice to have them in the picture for like things. It's always, you see other people, but I mean, you're also on the outside looking in. You don't always know everybody's stories, but some people that we do know, like on a personal level, in the relationship they have with their parents, and it's like, wow, that's awesome. And I'm so happy for you, but it sucks for me that I don't have that.
Yeah.
That it feels like my parents could not be bothered with me to also include in my story. I did reach out a couple times.
Yeah.
The last time I reached out, though, was back in 2017 when I was pregnant with our first child.
Yep.
Letting them know that I had gotten married, letting them know I was having a kid. Telling them that once again, extending, like, hey, would love to work on this. Would love to maybe sit down with somebody and talk, or if you can put in the work, like, would love to give you the opportunity to be a grandparent.
Yeah.
And the door was just like slammed on my face, and they wanted absolutely nothing to do with me or their grandchild or any part of the picture. And through the grapevine, I know to this day they want nothing.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with me. They want nothing to do with any family, really. It's sad that my parents aren't in the picture, but I don't regret the estrangement of like the peace that I have in my life now.
Yeah.
I don't want my parents in the picture if they're going to be the same people that I had growing up. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that in our kids' lives. I don't need our friends witnessing that. Like,
yeah. And I think that's just like it. Like,
And our friends have witnessed.
Yeah.
Enough.
friends have witnessed. Your parents, friends have witnessed. My parents, like. But yeah, I read that Forbes article, and that was one of the quotes.
Shout out to my best friend who's witnessed both sets of parents.
Yeah.
And their craziest moments.
But yeah, I see that quote, and it's like, oh, this person said she doesn't regret it. And then, like, that's the quote in the article. So that's what people are going to read and run with. Oh, this person's heartless.
Right. I've seen from, like there's somebody on Threads that I follow that she's, like, secretly in, like, a Reddit forum for estranged parents. She just, like, screenshots things the estranged parents have said and, like, just posts them on Threads. And yeah, a lot of them do believe that we get, like, some sort of, like, high off of cutting our parents off.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not it at all. We don't find amusement in having to make these decisions or...
Yeah.
Like...
Definitely still hurts, even though you're the one holding the scissors. Like,
right.
I'm not thinking about it all the time either, but as you said, there are glimpses. Sometimes we're doing something, and or even like, yeah, we're at Walt Disney World, and you see families where it's like, oh, it's
like a whole family.
Whole family. Like,
it's like, yeah, it's
multi-generational here in line next to us. Like,
there's like 20 people. It's like grandma, grandpa, all their kids, and then all those grandkids, and then like their sons and daughter-in-laws, and sometimes some cousins. Or
like, it looks great, but again, we don't know. Maybe they actually hate each other,
right? Like, are we just tolerating each other?
For sure. It's like you don't know people.
You don't always know. I know there are families out there that genuinely would like do anything for each other. Like,
shout out to Kelsey's.
Right.
Right.
The ideal family.
Doing everything.
What? Again, what we see, but they definitely seem like a tight-knit family. But
all you know is what you can control, what you can do for yourself.
Right.
And that even goes from just taking advice from other people,
Right.
That other person might not know fully, so you don't always need to listen to them.
I know when I first became estranged with my parents, there were people here and there that were friends of my parents that had tried to contact me or whatever, or just people that you may still talk to that kind of know of your parents, and it's like, oh well,
they seem like they love you,
right?
Or not seen, but they do love you,
right? Like, no, I know your mom, and she would do anything for you.
She would never do that. She would never hurt you,
right? Or, well, they're still your parents, so
yeah,
you should, like you said, you playing the adult, like, you need to give them grace. Or I personally don't think it's on the child to have to fix the relationship with their parents.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's on the parents. Like, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. It's exhausting. It's tiring.
Yep.
Much like back to our analogy here, our trip to Disney World, right? It's exhausting, tiring, but the trip ends, you land the plane, you go home, then you have to unpack your bags, you gotta do your laundry, life moves on. And so much with estrangement, right? Talking about leading up to becoming estranged, the nervousness about it, and then now it's happening, it's here. Now you're feeling all these feelings and emotions, now you gotta move on.
Right.
Easier said than done. How do you do it? What's the advice?
At first I definitely felt some sort of like adrenaline rush, I guess, because it's like everything's happening so fast.
Yeah,
it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Like, all right, we're doing this.
Right, like there's no turning back. We're doing it. like I said, you can only keep going from here, and it's like, all right. I can't believe I just did that. Like,
no turning back.
After like years of putting up with certain things, emotional abuse, sometimes physical abuse. Yeah. And yeah, it was just like my whole life I had my parents basically making all of my decisions for me. It's just like, I'm 21. I have my own job.
Yeah.
I have attempted to move out before and got yelled at for it.
Yeah.
It's just like
peacefully.
Moving out peacefully, letting them completely know, like, oh, found an apartment with some friends. Here's how much it costs. Here's me breaking it down that I can, in fact, afford this. And it was still a whole thing. So either way, it just, yeah, I wouldn't be living a life for myself, essentially. No. But anyway, back to your question. After the adrenaline rush kind of wears off, from going, I can't believe, it's kind of like, I only think of like, it's exactly like in Tangled, when she finally leaves the tower and she's like, I can't believe I did this. And she goes, I can't believe I did this. It's like that, like, woohoo, I finally did it. Oh my God.
Hashtag Disney adult.
Sorry, but it's...
But yeah, it's just that.
I mean, I was essentially my life. Okay. Locked away in a tower.
Trying to convince yourself you like it. I like it. But yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's just like, and then it's like, oh, crap. I did actually do that. And where the heck do I go from here?
Yeah, I think that's what I did when I broke up with my parents via text. Like,
you're like, I think I got really quiet
after I did it. Like, I just did it.
You did, because
I did it all on my own. Didn't even think about.
You didn't tell me.
And then I was like, oh no.
Because I looked over at you and I was like, what's up?
And you were like, what? I was like, I just did this. And I think I didn't want to look at my phone anymore. I wanted to distance myself from what I had just done. Didn't work.
Right.
Instantly, like, oh, I'm on this high. I'm taking back control.
I mean, we talked about my moment of this is a breaking point, but you didn't say what yours was.
It's kind of on the same lines. I mean, I talked about the regret part.
Right.
But like prior, yeah, it's just... I don't even know. I have horrible memory.
Well, I'm not going to say things from my perspective because it's not my story. But
right. I mean, that's another day.
That's another episode.
Next week's episode, we'll talk about that is not my place.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of... I'm an adult in my own house with my own family, and I still can't do things without you being there or you controlling the situations and
getting upset over things
and manipulation. And, I'll throw out a nugget here, but yeah, my dad's like, I would talk to my dad every day, but he died, or something to that effect. Like, I wish I could talk to my dad every day. Just trying to guilt trip me into needing to talk to him. And mind you, I didn't like talk to him for like maybe like 12 hours.
Because you were working.
I was working. I was legit working. I was busy. This was one of the days I was actually busy. So, yeah, I think moving on definitely has been just a day-by-day process, taking every day for what it's worth, controlling the things you can control, and moving forward means just not really focusing on the past too much.
Right.
Obviously, through therapy, you focus on the past, and that's a healthy way to do so, but not like sitting on the stoop thinking about.
Well, yeah, therapy is supposed to help you figure out how to cope with things.
Yeah, to rewrite the thought patterns and the unhealthy thoughts and cycles and breaking them and moving forward. It's to recognize what is broken and then finding a new path forward that is not broken.
Right.
Not a therapist, but that's what I've learned.
Once the high of that, I guess, wore off, of finally standing on my own 2 feet, it was a lot of worrying about the future.
Yeah.
Especially in my case.
Yeah, a lot of worry, for sure. We are definitely at different stages in life when we...
Yeah, I mean...
each respectively have become estranged.
I mean, my parents cost me my job, so...
Yeah, you're still dating, I am married.
Right. But yeah. It's okay. I made it out in the end.
Yeah.
With some help from some fine people.
Yeah.
Well, mostly fine people.
Estrangement definitely takes...
It takes a village. That, it did. If I didn't have any help, I probably would have gone crawling back to my parents at some point.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of trust for other people.
I'm not one to ask for things, as you know. I don't really like asking for things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say it like that.
No. Totally different contexts is what I'm thinking about, so it's okay.
But, I mean, yeah, I think that just comes from not really liking asking for help, even from my own parents.
Mm-hmm. Not wanting to be a burden.
Right.
Or having to owe somebody.
Right. It was certainly a humbling experience.
For sure. Summarize, yeah. Estrangement's hard.
Super hard.
It has a lot of mixed feelings, and they're all valid to feel. But if you are a victim of abuse or anything like that, whether physical, mentally,
sexually, verbally,
any type of abuse, manipulation, it's not your responsibility. Like,
you don't owe those people anything. You really don't.
You don't owe those people anything, and you're not one to blame that things didn't go a better way or it didn't stop sooner. Like, it's not your responsibility.
It's not your job to have to fix things either.
Yeah, it's not your job to fix it either. Just go.
Those that want to be in your life and put the effort in being in your life will.
Yeah.
And those that don't, well, then that's their loss.
Best thing you can do is focus on yourself. And, yeah, might be...
Pour into those who pour into you. Well,
for sure. When you're ready to pour into them. You don't have to.
Right.
Especially because it might be a while before you can pour out to somebody else. So focus on yourself. It takes time. Take it day by day. Estrangement. It's scary. It makes you nervous. People will try to manipulate you into reconciling maybe too early or reconciling altogether.
Right.
Go at your own pace. Focus on yourself. Find a therapist you like.
Stick to those boundaries.
Stick to your boundaries for sure. Number one. We didn't really talk about that, but
I mean, that's kind of what
that is.
You placed boundaries.
I placed a boundary. You placed a boundary.
I placed a boundary.
And we had to stick to them.
These people knew the expectations and the boundaries, and they said, no, thank you.
Don't let anybody move that goalpost. You set the rules and you stick to them for sure. Until next time, we plan on being this new year. We plan on being more consistent with our podcast episode. We're gonna aim for every other week. And I say aim for. Sometimes we're humans, we're parents. Life happens, but we're gonna aim for
every other week.
You can find us on Instagram.
Life happens.
Strange Millennials, pretty sure. At Strange Millennials on Instagram. And at Strange Millennials. We'll be also posting there more consistently. Maybe some more thoughts expounding on each episode more than what we just say here. So be sure to
probably we'll never have a TikTok page. So
RIP TikTok. And if you're listening on Spotify, give us 5 stars. If you're on Apple, give us 5 stars.
I mean, you don't have to rate us, but
subscribe. It helps us grow, gets our message out there, and help grow the community. Thank you for your support, and until next time.